What's not okay to do with a guy friend when you have a boyfriend? Before we start with the first story, please hit subscribe and ring the notification bell to stay updated with us. Story 1. If you have to hide it from your boyfriend, it means it's not okay. The opposite of this as well. My 17, soon to be 18-year-old nephew had a prom recently. His parents are good friends with a couple in Florida, and for whatever reason, he was invited to Florida to be the couple's daughter's date for prom. Mind you that this wasn't some family-held secret. His parents knew it. My parents knew it. His sisters knew it. Aunts and uncles knew it. Grandparents knew it. We were at a restaurant and began talking about it when my nephew went to the bathroom, as he is embarrassed about the topic. My sister came to the conclusion that he should not tell his girlfriend, and everyone else nodded in agreement. I was the only one who was gawking at her in disapproval. It's one thing to go to prom with another girl. It's another to do so and not tell your girlfriend about it, as well as lie about what you were doing at the time. I said the standard. If you were on the receiving end, how would you feel? But no one batted an eye. Story 2. There's a lot of structured answers here, but the real answer is that it depends. You need to have a real conversation with your partner and be open about your feelings and boundaries. Then you can figure out what's okay to do with friends. I've been married over 25 years, and my wife and I know each other's boundaries. Friends are fine. We do not hide stuff from each other. Neither of us is into watching the other person flirt. I'm a bit more possessive than she is, but we've talked about it. Instead of trying to control her, I try to start with how I feel and what those feelings are rooted in. I wasn't always like this. Younger me was idiot. One of my best friends is super relaxed with his wife and doesn't care if she flirts or dances with other guys. She's more possessive than he is, but they make it work because they've had honest conversations. Story 3. Use them as a boyfriend replacement when your boyfriend is not available. I'm not really talking about physical stuff. I mean using another guy to fill in whatever void you would normally do with your boyfriend if he happens to not be available. I get platonic friends and workplace partners are a thing, but trying to fill an emotional void with someone else because your boyfriend isn't available is what sends mixed signals more than anything. Even if that's not the conscious intent. Edit. Want to emphasize it's okay to do things if your partner isn't available with other people, or even just another person. It's more a self-examination of when you are interacting with another person singularly, and why. Story 4. I remember a conversation with my ex. She was quite close with her own ex who she had been friends with for years before they even got together, so I understood her keeping in touch with him, and they shared a friend group, etc., so I wouldn't want to get in the way of that. However, after a party, she mentioned she had stayed over at, we'll call him Pete's, and that she's done it before, so it's quite handy. It was a long time ago, so I can't remember the finer details, but I ended up asking where she slept when staying at Pete's, and it turns out she would sleep in his bed with him. That was one of our final conversations, so I suppose sharing the bed with a guy friend qualifies for the list, especially if it's your ex. Story 5. Confiding in them about problems in your relationship with current BF. When you do this, the male friend is basically your emotional support boyfriend. Also, the male friend, if they're morally corrupt, may see this as an opportunity to slide in between you and so to get his pound of flesh at the cost of your relationship. TBH, I'm always sketched out about opposite sex friendships where one is in a relationship and the other is straight and very single. People act like it's completely normal and fine, and sometimes it is, but anecdotally I've seen enough so's get outplayed by the conveniently single and emotionally supportive friend. Story 6. I am not friends with any girls I wouldn't mind sleeping with. It's usually almost always a sticky situation. That's why couples are uncomfortable about it. Because, tread carefully. It usually doesn't work out the way you think it will. Yes! You can absolutely have friends of the opposite sex, but they usually come over with their kids and husband during a 4th of July BBQ and leave shortly after. It really depends on the context, but having a single friend of the opposite sex that you are constantly in contact with usually never ends well for anyone. There might not be an underlying motive, but 9/10 times there usually is. Story 7. There aren't hard and fast rules. People are suggesting golden rule variants. What would you be comfortable with him doing with a woman friend? But the real questions are, what is he comfortable with? And are you comfortable with that? If your boyfriend were a pretty open poly dude and relationship anarchist, he'd likely have different views than a more conservative person. I'd just take out the guesswork and have a conversation with him about what he's comfortable with. and see if you find that to be reasonable and compatible with your views. I'm generally loath to get into psych speech, but for lack of a better term, it could be good to have clear boundaries regarding this in your relationship. Story 8. Oh man, I was in this situation for years. My best friend had a boyfriend who didn't like me. I didn't like him either because of how he treated her. We worked together and hung out after work and stuff for years, and I was genuinely in love with this girl, but she was taken already by this. I didn't feel right about the whole situation, so I quit my job and told her how I felt, and I understood the situation, and we needed to not see each other anymore. A year went by, and they ended up breaking up. We have now been together for almost 3 years, and I think I'm gonna marry this girl. Spent years being silent about my feelings because I knew it wasn't respectful to her or him as much as I didn't like him. IDK if I really answered the question, but I'd say if you're disrespecting the relationship at all, it's not okay. Story 9. My best friends forever is a female. Been 23 years now. We've both found that it's easiest to use the same barriers you do within your own actual family and utilize the same amount of transparency. Her dude has direct access to me at all times. My number one has direct access to her. If we out and about together, all of our peoples can always join us. This kind of arrangement has been widely accepted. Had a problem only once from my side of the coin. My one had a bit of jealousy going on. Story 10. Ask your partner. Anything you get here may be too encompassing or too non-encompassing for the particularities of your needs with your boyfriend. Communicate what boundaries you may have. E.g., my partner. She's acquaintances with people she used to date who wanted to date her. I talked with her about it, and I'm fine with her hanging out with those people sometimes if she wants. She typically doesn't want to. But one time she saw a musical with a guy who had a crush on her, but who she didn't have chemistry with. For some people that might be a bit much, but we talked it through. Story 11. If you call this person your boyfriend, you must be committed to them. I believe a couple needs to be a unit while maintaining their individuality. What I mean is embrace your beliefs and thoughts, but also be able to put yourself in your partner's shoes and see your actions and beliefs from their perspective. No two minds are the same, so understanding each other is key. If you truly are committed to this person, then anything that you wouldn't do in front of your boyfriend with this guy, that is affection, flirting, inappropriate jokes, or anything around that matter. Just don't do it. If you want to be with your boyfriend, don't create trust issues. Guy friends always reach the point where they feel they can go to the next level, regardless if you have a partner or not. So, if it's worth it to keep your boyfriend, keep your friend a friend. Maybe even tell him you don't feel comfortable hanging out with him without your man. Maybe even try to get them to become friends. Keep his trust, and he will keep you happy. Much love. Stay true. Story 12. Honestly, I don't believe in guy friends. I guarantee if a girl who has many guy friends for experimental purposes calls these guy friends and tells them to come over, and her majority of them will be on their way. Not so. Guy friend, is it now? Also, I guarantee if you break up with your boyfriend, you will probably run to your guy friend. I think male and female can be friends only in rare situations. I have a lady friend who I go fishing with. She's a lot older than me. There is no sexual attraction. There has never been anything between us. My ex used to go crazy when we went fishing together. I invited my ex to come with as many times, she never came. Then she tells me she has this childhood guy friend who they had a fling with, and one took all of us to hang out. I said no and we broke up. She ran to her guy friend, laugh out loud. Now she's trying to get me back, but we have deeper issues than guy friend or lady friend, so that's another story. Story 13. Rule number 1. Don't do anything you wouldn't tell your partner over breakfast. Rule number 2. If that starts to feel like you can't do anything whatsoever at all, double check whether your partner is actually relationship material. Take it from someone who's been mono, in a triad, and who's been in 2 poly and open relationships for 8 and respectively 3.5 years. What does and doesn't work in a relationship depends on the people in it and how well they communicate. There's folks out there who draw the line at cuddling friends and others who couldn't give less of a crap. There's folks who already lose their at one time. Those are not dating material, just to be utterly clear, and others who are a lot more relaxed. The person to ask is always our partner first, and then ourselves. If we are okay with the rules our partner wants to put down, all dandy. And if not, there's either compromise or a necessary breakup that, while sad, benefits everyone involved in the long run. People who walk through this world thinking their personal way of doing things is the one and only rarely overlap with people who make for great partners. Story 14. Married man here. In my opinion, my best advice would be, firsts, not okay to share first with others. An exclusive relationship is built on the desire to journey throughout life together, battle the downs and celebrate the ups. To protect this, both should prioritize each other in the sharing of information and experiences, no matter how minor. Let the first person that you share things and experiences with be the most intimate and exclusive relationship. There have been many times I have withheld information as a male teacher in a field full of females, so I can tell my wife first. There are also times where I hadn't, and I could feel myself begin to get comfortable. For me, it is better to pump the brakes here than to fall into the lie that I'm better off with someone else or get too intimate. We have a way of finding value in all relationships. If we are not careful, we can ruin our exclusive relationship by overvaluing our momentary friendships. If both do this, then the relationship will be built on loyalty and trust and have something that is fulfilling and wholesome. Hope this makes sense and helps. Story 15. Let's see, I've been married for 40 plus years. What I know, long hugs are fine if the other person gives long hugs to everyone and nothing else. Doing things with friends that your significant other hates is okay if you check with them first. My soul hated artsy movies, most plays, ballroom dancing, and exercise classes. So I went to those with friends, including a male friend. He knew and didn't care as long as I checked first. Sometimes he did want to go to a play or movie, which was fine. The classes were okay because there was an instructor and other people present. Midday meals was fine, lunch and brunch. If you are at an event performing and friends stop by to support you, any gender is fine. Where it got tricky was when friends are also fellow employees, regardless of gender. People talk regardless of facts. That's bad. Keep gossip out of it. If your relationship creates gossip, back up. If you have a family and you're friends, don't be careful of friends who want to be part of your family. There is a line there that's hard to recreate once it's crossed. First they come to Thanksgiving dinner, then to your kids' graduation, birthday parties, and then show up at your vacation. Oops, that's too far. I get that they are alone, but there must be boundaries. People can get really lonely and desperate. Be careful of too needy friends. If there is a serious illness and people need extra help, go ahead and help. Do what's necessary. Know when to back off. Watch yourself and your own feelings. Loving a friend isn't the same as loving your spouse or family. Being with friends doesn't require the compromise and sacrifices that families do. That's why you have friends. Friendships are easier. They don't usually involve money or chores or other family obligations. Easier isn't better. Don't get confused about who really loves you and why. Love your friends and love your family. Enjoy those different relationships. Just be honest with everyone about what the relationship is. Even when you are clear and direct, if some friends don't accept your distinctions, let that friendship go. If they don't respect your clearly defined limits, they aren't friends. They want something you aren't willing to give. Get out and don't go back. If you try to keep in contact, it just confuses some people. It's better to cut it off clean. It's too bad because they are great people, but they aren't right for you. Accept it. Alright folks, that's a wrap. If you like this, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. You can also share your those in the comment below.